right. Hey, it's the weekly feed. Kyle, Meredith. I'm with one of my all-time favorite people in the world.
Which screen?
Joseph Arthur. They're all about you, man. They're all about you.
Hello, hello,
Yeah.
hello.
It's like,
hello.
Makes like number 5, maybe, for you on the weekly feed.
Yeah, I'm becoming a regular.
You're a regular.
I'm like Howard Stern, and you're like David Letterman.
I'll take that.
Who else is the regular? Well, kind of like got a big nose like Howard Stern. So.
There you go. It's a thing. All right,
cut. Let's re-edit.
No, so I caught you in the middle. You're in like an album trilogy thing. It's pretty cool. It's a really good marketing plan, is what I figured, because what you've done over the past years, everybody likes to talk about your being prolific and you're always releasing things. You're like, oh, the audience can't keep up with it. So what you said, I can release as much as I want if I call it a trilogy.
If I call it the same thing.
If it's a series.
It's a series.
Then people expect it.
Yeah. Well, the third one is Boogie Rises.
Yeah.
It's a hip opera.
Is it going to be a hip hopper?
It's a hip hop.
Set to this beat that we're hearing in the background.
I mastered 35 songs for it. I've been working on it for a long time, and just it built up over time. So,
how do you keep an album cohesive when you're working on it for that long? Because for a lot of albums, you write a set of songs in a certain amount of time, and that's the theme. The theme emerges.
Yeah.
But you're trying to hold something together over 5 years.
Yeah, because this was centered around a sort of a character concept.
Yeah.
So I had all these different songs that kind of fit into this idea of this character that was kind of enlightened or kind of insane, and just when I based it off a character, like I could write songs that were sort of autobiographical and go, oh, that could be about Boogie's like childhood, or that could be about his high school years, or this could be his drug-addled past, or this could be loss of faith, or like you start formulating the story in your mind, and then it almost takes on the form of like a novel, and then it just becomes endless, and you write lots of chapters for it. And I whittled it down to one album, and then
I just thought of Trapped in the Closet from R. Kelly, like 37 chapters now, right?
It is my Trapped in the Closet. I mean, I take that as an enormous compliment.
And his new one's called Black Panties, so if you can follow it up with something, you've got Black Flowers. It's different,
Yeah. Well, I think Boogie Rises, a hip opera, is.
See, that's close.
That's pretty.
There. That's good.
That's in the same realm.
A little shaft guitar going on with the wah, lots of wah. Yeah.
You think I'm kidding? Actually, there's too much wah on Boogie.
There's never too much wah.
It's almost every song has wah guitar.
Joseph Arthur's.
Not kidding.
What do they call it? Blaxploitation?
It's movies? A lot like with Redemption City, I kind of started almost trying to rap.
Right.
This is me kind of like, I'm going there.
This is it. Take the jump.
It's a leap of faith.
And that wraps back around.
And here's the other thing with a trilogy. The other thing is, the third part of a trilogy is always really bad. Godfather 3, for instance.
Godfather 3 was bad, but then you look at
Rocky 3, oh, that was pretty good.
Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Indiana Jones Holy Grail, best one.
Oh, okay. What?
Yeah.
Really?
Indiana Jones the Holy Grail was the best of the 3.
I don't know. I think this is an age thing.
Maybe.
Because I remember the first one being the best one.
I find it interesting because so the character is this embodiment not of Christ. He's called Boogie Christ, and he's kind of a Christ figure, is what you've said.
Well, he's wrestling with the idea that he might be Christ.
Yeah,
it's kind of like
it's great.
That's in my head. It's like
Monty Python's Life of Brian.
Yeah, he thinks he's Christ sometimes.
Yeah,
and then he's not sure, and then he's pretty much sure he's just a human.
Right.
And then he thinks he's Christ again.
A lot of us perceive religion in different parts of our life, because when you're a teen is when you kind of start questioning it.
Yeah.
And it's all about the challenge, right?
Yeah.
And maybe later in life, some people make amends or they just give in or whatever it is. But what I find about this album is it's almost like a grown-up version of that teen era, where it's still kind of like, let's reimagine what this could be.
Right. Well, it's funny because I do think of it. It's funny that you bring up sort of age with it, because I think of it as like coming from my mid-30s.
Yeah.
Because I'm 42 now, and it's like I feel like the seed of it came from things I was going through around mid-30s. I think that's a hard time in a man's life, mid-30s.
Yeah.
Because you'd have to assert yourself, or there's a lot of stuff going on. It's a strange developmental time, and I think like.
Thanks for giving me the heads up. That's exactly where I'm heading, right?
You're entering it, but I don't know. You seem to have things figured out, but I don't know. I think of it in terms of that. I have no real. I mean, everybody's life is their own personal journey, so I don't know if other people's are like that. But I do see certain other people going through stuff that verges on sort of megalomania, and they're in their mid-30s, and I'm just like, wow. I wonder if that's a thing.
That was there. When you're writing something like this, it's a concept.
Yeah.
That just happens to have the Christ word in it and everything.
Yeah.
But did you find that you're like, I don't know where you are religiously, or spiritually, I should say, but did you find that there was any intersecting about how you really felt about religion and what was coming in on this?
Yeah, I think
at all.
I think there's some philosophical thing in it, but I mean, personally, I don't like anything that is exclusive. Or like that's like this is the way it is, and if you don't believe this, you're out. And I think most spiritual communities fall prey to that. From Alcoholics Anonymous to Christianity to
that's interesting.
That most of them fall into the whole thing of this is really the right way.
Right.
And I guess by their nature, they sort of have to fall into that. But I think of that
because
as
they're all a business.
I don't know. I think just like to have an in-group, you have to kind of think you have the answer in some way.
Sure, okay.
It's hard, and I don't really believe that there is any one way.
There's no one right way for anything.
No, and I think, but I definitely believe in that we're in this is a mystical journey we're on, and that this is like there's obviously like creative intelligence behind all this. I mean, I think you can sort of. I always think it's interesting how people separate sort of creationism with evolution or Darwinism.
Like it has to be this or that or this.
One way or the other. Or the fact that we can sort of see the evolution or see the creation over time doesn't mean that it's still not creation.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like science doesn't do away with religion because science is like the blueprint of the creation that we're seeing. It doesn't mean that it's not creation. I don't think they should be at odds with each other at all. So, I mean, I don't know. I went
Does
off.
Boogie deal with it? It's fine.
I just went off on a tangent.
You went exactly where I was hoping you. That's what I was asking.
Yeah.
And how that fit into the album, if it did at all, because you can have that. I guess it's when you're writing about such a specific.
Yeah, I think
like
it does in that the character's going through all these kind of questions and And like I need the saint of music, I need the saint of love, stuff like that. The saint of impossible causes. I used to know how to walk on water, things like that. So yeah, it's framed in religion, but it's more about a spiritual journey than any sort of specific religious ideology. And
you put yourself kind of in a few of those songs, like little parts of you.
Yeah.
You name check two home cities for you with Akron,
Akron and Cleveland. Yeah.
At this point in your life, you've not lived in Ohio. You've not lived at home, or if you look at that as home for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Can you go back to the whole idea? You can never go home. Because your lifestyle has led you around the world now, and you've been in New York forever and ever at this point.
Yeah, for almost 20 years. So New York's
when
really
you're writing,
my home. But
when you're writing about Akron, you're writing about Cleveland. Is it from the outsider's point of view now? Or
no, it's interesting. I don't know if it's because Akron is a special place to me, or to me, or my folks still live in my childhood home, so I get to go visit them. So I still feel very much at home there, and Akron specifically is, I feel like a magical place.
2013 also had a few dark spots in it. You lost a couple friends.
Yeah.
Lead singer to Vinyls. I don't know how close you were, but then Lou Reed.
Lou is a big friend of mine.
And Lou, I know you guys were close, and he also seemed kind of like a guiding light for you.
Yeah.
Like looking at it now.
Yeah.
Like what did Lou mean to you? How close were you guys?
Well, I think he was like a mentor to me, and just I loved him, and. Just a good friend, really, and somebody who I looked up to and had a huge amount of respect for, and just. I
mean, when you've got someone kind of that big in the scope of whatever art we're a part of, and some music right here, you have someone that important to music, you as a musician. Yeah. So it's like a double level relationship you have with this guy.
Well, it confuses the relationship in a way. because they, you know, I mean, I kind of like, yeah, I understood more about what he meant to me when he passed, and I think that's just, you know, the nature of of what we're dealing with.
It's a rough way to have closure
as human beings. I mean, yeah, it was a rough kind of way to have closure. I mean, I think that's the way death is, though. Sure. You know, it's the nature of it. It's, you know, it's impossible. So
I think I read about a story of you guys walking through the streets and hearing some Velvet Underground blasting through it.
I wrote about that.
Yeah, that's right.
It wasn't even blasting. It was just Pale Blue Eyes was playing out of somebody's ground floor apartment window, and I caught it, and then I like said, "Hey, come here," and there was a group of us, but he came over and listened to it, and I was like, "Wouldn't it be amazing if you just knocked on the window and said what's up?" And he just paused for a second, and then he just was like smiled and kept walking.
Would have been such a good moment. So what happens now? Because you do have this cool trilogy record going on and this really unique kind of concept. So we got movie, we got play. What do we have next in the saga of Boogie Christ after this?
I would like to make some kind of theatrical thing out of it. And
I mean, do you find yourself on stage kind of playing a character when you're on this tour at all?
Not so much. I mean,
because
you always are, I guess, to a degree, if once you're on stage.
Yeah, the life of entertainer.
Yeah. So, but
because you could totally Ziggy Stardust this if you wanted to.
Yeah.
On a smaller scale.
Well, that was an influence in thinking about Boogie Christ. It was like the Ziggy Stardust thing. I mean, I read somewhere that David Bowie always thought of those albums as like films or something, and I definitely thought of Boogie Christ like that. I wanted it to come out where I had a sort of a play around it and everything, and then it just got overwhelming.
There was one song on it too, I was curious. Fanboy question. I Miss the Zoo is on 2 releases now. It's 2 different versions.
Yeah.
Why the different versions?
Well, I Miss the Zoo felt like an important part of the Boogie Christ album because it was like, you know, I was thinking of it in terms of like a novel and like fleshing out the character, and that gave it to me backstory. Like, okay, this is like somebody who used to be a drug addict or something, like going, you know, so that gave the sort of more weight to the sort of character study or something. So I felt that was important, and the other one I thought was important. There was 2 other ones. One was Travel as Equals, because that to me felt like an enlightened kind of perspective. Like, so I wanted to show that the character had sort of achieved some kind of enlightenment as well. That's how Boogie spun off, like created Redemption City, which was the sort of spoken word electronic record.
So in a way, those records
they're like brother and sister. Yeah, like
in a way though, you could do that with
Boogie Christ will live in Redemption City.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I say. You could do that with any of your songs if you wanted to.
Yeah.
If you were to do the big musical, it's like, okay, which one of my old songs?
Well, right. In the Sun would fit in really well. Right. Like, and I thought of that too. Yeah.
Also, a nice marketing thing. Let's just go for the biggest hit and make sure it's in the set.
And let's get it on Broadway.
Exactly.
This is the way to make money in the music business in 2014.
It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to do it. If I don't do it, somebody out there should do it.
Yeah, you should. But you should do it before they do it.
Try to do it before they do it.
Yeah, you really should.
Edit that part out. Where
I was like seeing where you're going with this stuff, so this is fun.
Yeah.
Beyond Boogie, what can we expect? Is there other stuff? Because there's another R&DM thing going to happen.
There's another R&DM, and you know, that's we're talking about doing that. But Jeff's on the road with Pearl Jam, I think, for a while, and Fistful of Mercy guys, we've been talking a lot lately about getting back together. So should be, you know, keep on keeping on. Sure. It's like now. You know,
is Boogie still going to be your solo focus right now? Have you already moved on?
I just love music more than ever. You know, like that's the thing with people talk about the music business and like it's rough and blah blah blah. But honestly, I feel as engaged and as inspired, or more so than ever, just with music. Like I just love playing guitar. Like it's sort of that simple to me. It's like we're sitting in front of video games. It's like,
can you play some Tron?
Well, let's do that. But I mean, in the same way that you would, like, you know, people master video games or whatever, like music is like that to me. Like it's just your own, like, you know, if you're lucky enough to find something in life that you're engaged with, you know, and inspired by, that's making it. Everything else is secondary, you know, and that's how I feel about music, you know, more than ever.
Well, if I were writing this interview, that's how it would wrap up. So that's where we'll conclude this. Joseph Arthur, thanks so much.
Nice to see you again.
Yeah. All right.